Being a real estate investor is a business, even if you have one property. From day one, it should be treated like a business, not a hobby or side hustle. One of the most common questions I get from investors is, should I get an LLC for my rental business? I'm Ashley Kerr. I'm an investor and co-host of the BiggerPockets Rookie Podcast. And I am so excited to talk about this topic today. I'm going to cover everything from what an LLC is to what you need to consider before starting an LLC, and also how to determine if it's the right fit for your goals. I am not an attorney and not providing legal advice. I am merely laying out the information to help you on your real estate investing journey. During this video, I'll be speaking a lot on my own experience and what has worked best. Make another note that LLCs can differ from state to state, especially the cost of setting one up and the rules to maintain it. Before we get into it though, I want to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, Rent to Retirement. Right now, Rent to Retirement is giving away tens of thousands of dollars in incentives when you purchase a new construction turnkey rental. So here are your options. You can get up to $20,000 off your new construction rental property, a 5% down payment credit, 3, an interest rate buy down to as low as 3.99%, and the fourth option is no money down on your next turnkey rental. So don't wait. These offers will not last. To learn more, visit renttoretirement.com or you can text REI to 33777 to take advantage of these limited time incentives. Now, back to the show. Let's dive right in with what an LLC is first. An LLC is a corporate structure that is a limited liability company. This entity protects its owners from being personally liable for the repayment of debts and monies owed. The goal is to also protect an individual's personal assets and any legal disputes that may arise from the operation of the entity or assets in the entity. So what that is saying is if someone sues you because they injured themselves on your rental property, for example, they can only sue the LLC and not you personally. They can't come up to your primary home or personal vehicle. Of course, there are rules and regulations to follow that put up that barrier called the corporate veil. And there are ways for people to get around it if you aren't maintaining your LLC and following the requirements. We will get into all that though. The first property I ever purchased was a duplex. I purchased the property with a partner and we created an LLC together. The reason we did this was solely because his dad did that when he bought properties. Even though I had wished at the time I was more knowledgeable in an LLC, like you will be after watching this video, we happened to make the right decision by putting that property in an LLC that was owned by both of us. We have bought several properties together in the LLC, and then I went on to purchase my first rental on my own. I put it into my personal name and I did not create an LLC. Later on, we'll break down those two options and the difference between those two decisions. No matter which option you choose, an LLC or your personal name to put the property in, always treat it like a business. You will still need to track your income and expenses. With an LLC, you will report the income and expenses on your personal return unless it is a partnership LLC where there are more than one members or owners. Then you'll file a separate return called Form 1065. If you own the property in your personal name, then it will go on your personal return. For tax purposes, you can elect to have your LLC as a disregarded entity for tax purposes. There are a lot of options when filing with an LLC. Basically, no matter which way you choose, it will be taxed the same and reported if you are the single owner. Well, at least the option 2. Okay, so this leads us into discussing the cost of an LLC. To file a separate return for a partnership, there will be another fee your CPA charges. It will be another set of books for your bookkeeper, which will be another fee. Then in most states, you have to pay an annual or biennial filing fee. And don't forget about the startup costs of the LLC, such as the initial filing fee. In New York State, the filing fee is $200. Some states charge upward of $800 though. So before you decide on an LLC, make sure you understand all the costs that are involved and add those into your numbers when analyzing a property. The cost of the LLC shouldn't be your only deciding factor, and you definitely shouldn't go with the cheap route. Let's dive into the other things you should consider. The reason for an LLC is to protect your personal assets. What if you have no personal assets? Maybe you rent an apartment and you ride a bike. Your asset is just your $1,500 bike. You're basically spending your savings on a property and have a measly amount in reserves. Do you really need an LLC to protect you if you have nothing to lose? If you have a high net worth and have lots of assets with low liabilities, then you are more inclined to need the protection of an LLC on your property. If you're finding this information valuable, make sure to hit the like button. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel to get notified of new videos when they come out. Okay, on to one of the biggest debates of having an LLC or holding the property in your personal name is the financing. When you own a property in your personal name, you can oftentimes get better financing on the property, even if it is not your primary. With an LLC, the terms are not as favorable, a higher interest rate or even shorter terms for the fixed rate. Let's go back to the example of the partnership and the property I bought on my own. The financing I was able to get on the partnership was on the commercial side of lending. So my local bank, they have a commercial side and a residential side where there are different loan officers and different loan products. For the LLCs, they send you to the commercial loan officer. The interest rate was about 1.5% higher than if I would have went with residential lending. The interest rate was only fixed for 5 years instead of 30. Then after 5 years, it went to a variable rate where it changed, or we could go refinance the property. There was also a prepayment penalty if we paid the loan off early. These terms made our deal work, but were not as favorable if we would have went with a residential mortgage in our personal name. There are some lenders out there who will put your loan into a 30-year fixed rate, but your interest rate is still not as favorable. A lot of these loan products are called DSCR loans. If your deal works, does it really matter what the interest rate is? I'd rather have a liability protection going with an LLC and being able to sleep at night than make a few extra bucks in cash flow. But personal preference. I'm just trying to lay out all the options and situations that can affect your decision. For the property I bought in my personal name, I had no partners. Whenever I have a partner on a deal, I always have an LLC or a joint venture agreement. If my partner makes a mistake in the business, I don't want it to affect me personally and vice versa. Since this new property was just going to be me, I decided to buy it in my personal name and get a conventional loan on the residential side of lending. It was at 80% loan to value, great interest rate for that time, and amortized over 30 years at a fixed rate with no prepayment penalty. If you decide to put a property in your personal name, you should get an umbrella policy. This is on top of your landlord policy. An umbrella policy provides more coverage in case you are sued. For example, your landlord policy may pay $500,000 in liability. The landlord policy would kick in first, then once those funds are exhausted to defend you or to settle, then your umbrella policy would kick in. This would give a larger amount of money to be paid out on your behalf if there is a claim for liability. The last thing I want to touch on is the upkeep of the LLC. You don't just get an LLC and get all the benefits without having compliance. There are requirements that must be followed, or you could be held liable even with your LLC. For example, following the reporting requirements every year. For an LLC in New York, you have to file a yearly filing fee form and a biannual statement. Another example is not commingling funds. You can't have a personal account that you pay your groceries out of, and at the same time, you deposit your rental income and write your property expenses out for the property. You must have a separate business checking account. So make sure you are aware of the requirements before starting your LLC. You can find the filing and maintaining requirements on your state's website by searching LLC formation. Let's sum up the pros and cons of choosing an LLC. The first pro is that you can have asset protection for your personal assets. You also have a lot of options for your tax reporting if you choose an LLC, such as sole proprietor, or if you have a partner or partnership, an S corporation or a C corporation. Talking with your CPA can help you decide which is the best route for you. The cons for forming the LLC is not having as favorable loan products and the cost of forming and maintaining your LLC. Ultimately, deciding whether to form an LLC depends on your individual circumstances. Consider your risk tolerance, the size of your portfolio, and your long-term investment goals. I always recommend consulting with a real estate attorney and a tax advisor before making this decision. They can provide personalized guidance based on your situation and local laws. And you may be surprised to find out it's not as expensive as you would think to consult with a CPA or an attorney. Do your research, weigh the pros and cons, and make an informed choice that aligns with your investment strategy. If you have any more questions, put them below so I can answer them. Thanks for watching. I am Ashley Kerr, and you can find me on the Real Estate Rookie podcast, where 3 times a week, we give you the inspiration, motivation, and information you need to get started in real estate investing.